Oh, Torb 007, thank you. Welcome. We are ever closer now to summoning Tiamat. Um Once we hit 4,000 Twitch followers, I'm going to be having an event where I'm going to be giving away this $400 pre-painted miniature with free US shipping. She's going to someone, and we're getting there one person at a time. So Torb, thank you very much for helping us and being a step along this journey to 4,000. It means a lot to me. Now, this part, this could probably be kind of a quick and dirty thing. I think we won't be talking for more than an hour. But before we get to reskinning and doing a couple practices, a couple exercises with that, I wanted to introduce a digital version of what we had talked about, calculating things manually. Remember, this is drawing on the core rule books, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Monster Manual. All right? So, if you don't have these books, I highly recommend them. Considering that, bounded accuracy is a thing, we should always go back to the core books. Support your friendly local game store if they've earned your business. And if you don't have a friendly local game store, well, I happen to know a guy. And he can get some books out to you. It's my job after all, right? So if you are playing along, we were delving into the Dungeon Master's Guide. We're going over what comprises challenge rating and how it's an average of a couple things. We have an offensive challenge rating, a defensive challenge rating, and that goes together to average the challenge rating, which is why it's a starting point and it's not the best measure of the combat capabilities of a monster, but it is a measure of what the intended output and ability to receive damage in a combat situation would be. Oh, Torb, thank you. Thank you for lurking after that raid. I appreciate it, and that I've earned your follow, that means a lot to me. And if you keep coming back here to the hallowed halls of the Hero Zone, you will continue to be welcomed, as we have many discussions and explorations like this. And you all out there are always welcome to share your own stories from your tabletops, or ask questions if you have them. All right, so we had this, and we came down here for we came down here for some stats. In fact, shoot, we're on I think it was like 275. Yeah, so we're on 275, and let's do some quick math here. Our according to this this tool, this challenge rating calculator here. By the way, the expected is like, oh, I totally need to make a CR, I don't know. We're totally going to make a CR10 monster. And we know that we chose... We'll actually move this over on this side for right now a little bit. It'll be a little off camera here. So our damage per round, I think it was like, what was it? Damage per round was 40. So down here, we're going to type in 40 for our damage per round. By the way, if you all want to check out this quick and easy to use tool, there you go. And our attack bonus... Our attack bonus was a +5. In this case, let's just it just savages with claws and bites. Doesn't matter how many. We have our average DPR, and we're not worried about saving throws. And we said that there were, let's see. Its hit points was 225. And so that is going to put us... do. There we go. And its armor class was 16. Now, we're not adding any of the special abilities. For example, we mentioned avoidance that the Demi-Lich has and how it can boost things up. Let's see if I was correct. Challenge rating of 9. Oh, what did I miss? Or did I... 225. Armor class was 16, right? Oh, wait. It was effective. It was 15. Oh, I might have still been, maybe I didn't round it correctly. Or I should have rounded up twice or something. Well, it was still very close. Sorry about that. It might be because, you can see the bands of armor class and some things here. But we see here our effective AC, our average damage. Unless I just messed up the input. Anyway. So we had that hidden. We're like, yeah, we're shooting for a level 10 creature. Well, we have not a level 10, a CR 10 creature. Well, we have a CR 8. Its offensive CR was 6. Yeah, so that's where we had messed up. I must have read the wrong line. So that was supposed to be up. Our defensive was 10. Oh, you know what? That's because with a 15, that could have been up to a 7. I bet it was 7. Plus our 11 is 18, which is 9. So yeah, I something got rounded up. Anyway. We have no vulnerabilities, no resistances and immunities. It cannot fly and deal damage at range, which is for low CRs. Because after that, you get into the ability to handle that sort of stuff. Save proficiencies, 0 to 2. This is a pretty just straightforward monster here. Now, if we add avoidance, we saw last time it did tick it up a little bit. Let's add avoidance. CR9. So it's still a CR9 here, so something got averaged up before, such that we didn't bounce up with our challenge rating like we did in our manual calculation. But if you wanted to add angelic weapons, blood frenzy, parry, regeneration, this is a quick way that you can calculate the CR of something. And this has the condensed also. Be sure to read the Dungeon Master's Guide on pages 273 to 283. And you can also click on the table to the right to fill in the values. And if you want to manually go, well, I wanted to bring it down, or I wanted to bring it up to a 10 a little bit more, you can just click through and change some things here. And if you're like, oh yeah, you know what? Let's boost this up. We're going to go hit points. And so this is the averages across the board here. It filled in. Anyway, so that's fun. Now, why do I have random.org also open? It's because I want to reskin a couple things here with you all. We're not going to affect challenge rating. What I would like, Torb, are you still here? We may have lost Torb. Who's hanging out in chat? Oh, you are Torb. Okay, Torb, please type exclamation point 1D as in doggo 100. No spaces. Exclamation point 1D 100. Lands on 52. Woo, all right. We have some demon lords apparently. Although these don't appear to have stat blocks. At least not in this book. So we're in the demon section. Let's do this. Torb, type exclamation point 1D9. Six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, what we're going to do, we are going to reskin as something else. I'm at random.org, and we have 316 pages of now there's more like creatures in the back, like hounds and a phase spider and NPCs and whatnot. Sticking to the creatures from through the main portion of the book, we're going to randomly choose a page from 1 to 316. Are you ready? Here we go. Hi, Delport. My stream description. Oh, I updated the tags, and you know what? Did it, it reset? Yep, it reset to her, hang on. You know, oh no. Oh no. Oh my gosh, it shut down the entire... Oh, I fat fingered a key. And it just, oh my gosh. Hang on, everyone. I gotta fix this. Thank you for letting me know. Hold on a moment. Hang on. Yeah, during the break, I'm like, why do I have a tag that's casual, that's also misspelled? So she must have, she must have, and so I deleted it and I updated the settings, but it changed it to her title. Oh, and now that's repeating. All right, now we go over here to... Boy, nothing's ever easy, is it? Let me get to my manager real quick here. Okay, thank you for letting me know. That should hopefully now be working. Yeah, I think she accidentally typed causal. All right, so here we go. We're back to what we were doing. we're going to reskin a Goristro. So we have a Draco Lich is on page 83. So this is a template. Let's get another more specific monster. 36. Here we go. All right. Well then, this one may not be too tough. So open up your monster manuals to page 36. We're going to reskin a Goristro as a Cambion. Well, magic items count if it affects the offensive or defensive capabilities, and maybe if it adds flying and some other, uniquely specific things. But yeah, that's why challenge rating is a starting point. It's definitely not an end-all be-all. Now, when you're reskinning monsters, you're taking the stats. We have the stats of the Goristro, and we're going to dress them up as a Cambion. Yeah, go ahead. If you accept, the flavor text, that's easy to apply. And really, there's not a lot here that itself would be really far and away from what a Goristro is. In fact, from our Goristro, what was that? That was on... We have a challenge 17. The Cambion is a 5. But again, that doesn't mean that the Cambion can't have its damage increased. Its armor class... Now, in this case, it's natural armor. All we have to do is take our Goristro's... Actually, hang on. Let me get something here real quick. So we're going to come up here. There we go. And then we're going to go back to... We have this stat block that we are going to dress up as a Cambion. So forget what the Cambion has here in general, okay? Our AC is 19 on the Cambion. Our AC is 19. The only difference is scale mail to natural armor. Doesn't matter the armor type, the AC value is the same. Now, hit points are going to go up. And how can hit points go up? This Cambion is just tougher. This Cambion is under some sort of magical effect that boosts hit points or something along those lines. The players, if you have a player at your table saying, wait a minute, Cambions only have 82 hit points, and we've hit this thing for 212. What's going on here? You're cheating us, Dungeon Master. Your retort is, not everyone has the same hit points. Not all creatures that appear one way are always going to be the same. And it's fine to give a Cambion 310 hit points, because we're just putting a Cambion skin on a Goristro. Now, in this case, the Cambion does have a flying ability, which would be... it would have an effect on the challenge rating, because this is a CR 9 or lower creature. However, because we're actually making a challenge 17 Cambion, flying and being able to deal damage isn't going to affect the CR. It's just something that can be done. Nothing to worry about there. Dark Vision 120 to Dark Vision 60 doesn't affect challenge rating. And you know what? If we're already talking about some sort of super Cambion, so instead of a half devil, maybe it's a 3/4, I don't know. Then there you go. Passive perception doesn't affect CR. Its constitution's higher, of course, but of course, you know, in the lump sum of hit points, it is what it is. So this was a pretty easy swap. Not much to worry or explain about. And in fact, the next example that I like giving is if you need a quick wizard and you don't want to have the player's handbook open for all the spells or you know, whatever, reskin a beholder. You have 10 spells ready to go, and just describe the beholder, same amount of hit points and everything. Keep this CR. Why can't the wizard hover or fly? It doesn't seem like it would be weird or out of the ordinary. Why can't the wizard have a death ray or cancel magic? Of course they can, because they do. Now, in more recent years, and I want to say, did that start with Tasha's? It started with one of the books that D&D had put out more recently. You know what? It might have been the combination of Volos and Mordenkainen's, where they stripped out a bunch of lore and then they sort of reworked the entries for the monsters. There's a lot more direct effects of things like spells, instead of just listing the spells that you have to have the other book open and do all that. But this is where reskinning comes in handy. Think about how you can explain the differences, because in this case it's just a tougher Cambion. If you don't want to make it huge, don't worry about it. Keep it a medium. Why can't a medium creature have 310 hit points? There's a reason for it. You know, obviously for story reasons. This is a tough Cambion for something. And if you still wanted to, like the multi-attack here, the DPR output is fine. Have it be a multi-attack or use a spear. If we're putting... Oh, thank you, Nick. Oh, Delport, you tried sharing a link. I see. So the bot gotcha. Nick, it's going well. We're going over challenge rating, what it is, what it isn't, what it does and what it doesn't do. And we're talking about taking our first steps in tandem with it, which is just simply reskinning monsters. And in this case, we randomly rolled a Goristro's stat block, and we're putting the skin of a Cambion on it. Easy to do. You don't have to change any math. The multi-attack can still come from a spear. Can still come from something else. The Fiendish Charm itself is not dealing damage. This is probably not going to affect challenge rating in any meaningful way. So you could even still put Fiendish Charm on the Goristro. Now, if you're keeping it as a CR 17 creature for the stat block, you'll want to increase the save DC. Right now, it is currently 14. In this case, you're going to want to boost it up to 19, because that is what the CR for a level 17 creature would have. Nick, so thank you for finding us and joining our workshop. Are you a newcomer to role-playing? Doesn't even have to be D&D. Or have you been playing forever? What's been your experience? And so that brings the Cambion's charm in line with what the Goristro's stats are bringing to the table. And for some reason, you needed a juiced up Cambion. There you go, because you really loved the powerhouse of the Goristro. In fact, forget the spear. Maybe you even forget Fire Ray, or just turn the Gore attack into a Fire Ray and have it deal 7d10 plus 7. Why not? Again, if your player at your table goes, actually, Fire Ray only deals 3d6 fire damage. Well, okay, number one, why are you bringing this up at the table? And two, it's clear that this is a devil you're fighting of extraordinary power. So don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm not rolling 3d6, and there's a reason for it. Interact with the battle and learn why, if this is intriguing. I'm glad you're bringing it up, but, it's there for a reason. So we went over also, like, what? Reskinning a Beholder as a wizard. Let's go, I don't know, random monster. Galeb Dur. So we're going to take the stat block of the Galeb Dur, and let's put it let's put the skin of, let's see, page 21, in Ankeg over it. Wow. The story's kind of writing itself. We go from one fiend to another, and we go from one burrowing creature to another here. But you know what? That makes for very easy reskins as well. So here in the workshop, we have a saying, Iwi, it writes itself. Some channels have Owos, others have Uwos. Here we have Iwis. Alright, we're going to turn an Ankeg into a challenge rating 6 from our challenge rating 2. Because we're going to describe the physicality of the Galeb Dur, not as an elemental, but as a monstrosity. Doesn't affect challenge rating. Neutral to unaligned, doesn't affect challenge rating. AC goes from 14 to 16. Both are natural armor. Nothing that you have to especially go out of your way to contort an explanation for. This one, and so hit points, it's just a bigger, meaner one. That can, it still has a, actually, I'm sorry, Galeb Durs oh, you know what we've made? So this Ankeg, I mean, it could still have a burrow speed. As burrowing, it doesn't necessarily affect challenge rating. We've made a roly-poly bug. A dire roly-poly bug. Because, yeah, it could keep the burrow. Why not? But Galeb Durs have a 30 feet when rolling or 60 feet when rolling downhill speed. And so this one actually just has a higher speed because it can curl up. Replace the stat blocks with what you have here. Give it a language. Doesn't affect challenge rating. The condition immunities are already incorporated into the challenge rating of the Galeb Dur. Giving an Ankeg immunity to poison, okay, it's just a different type of bug. In fact, if you want, you can say that it deals poison damage and it has a venomous bite. Because bugs do that. And so it would, of course, it would be resistant to it. Or even immune to it because it deals it in large quantities. It's immune to exhaustion, paralyzation, being poisoned and petrified. Those are all incorporated in the challenge rating for immunities and resistances. Why couldn't an Ankeg do that? Is there a magical device that at 8 that is empowering it from within? Is it actually like a specially raised and trained or bred one? Is it just a magical Ankeg and it has a force field? This is a game of imagination and fantasy, and not every Ankeg is going to be the same. For general references and grouping, there you go, you can put them together, but nothing says you can't have the engine of a Galeb Dur inside the packaging, inside the chassis of an Ankeg. As long as the DPR matches up, does it matter if it's a slam or a bite? Absolutely not. Can this animate boulders? Why not? It may not be an elemental. You might want to keep it monstrosity, but a monstrosity might still have some sort of magical ability, or the animate boulders could be some sort of like a vibration, kind of like the rocks in shoot, I forget which desert. There's a desert where there's like vibrations, and you can actually like there's rocks that travel across the sand. So maybe in the setting, because we talk about using terrain or fighting intelligently, this has a vibrating method to move rocks or fling them or something along those lines. And also, why not have it, still have an acid spray? Or describe it only has an acid spray. Or instead, I guess you call it a poison spray. Have that go into animate boulders or slam. Damage types are completely interchangeable in this edition. Force damage is the same as fire damage, as the same as magical bludgeoning damage, as is the same of non-magical piercing damage. Damage is damage. You're fine, Nick. Don't worry about it. Starting 4E, then I've been mostly doing 5. I have experience in other TTRPGs as well as Pathfinder 1E, Star Wars, D6 and Fantasy Flight Games, Mongoose's Traveler, and a few others since I... Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, so you've been around the hobby for a while. By the way, everyone, I'm at the... hopefully the last stop on this month-long battle against pneumonia. If my voice is a little hoarse-sounding or squeaky, I've been talking all night, and I'm getting over that. So yeah, welcome to you, Nick, and thank you for checking us out and bringing your experience to our tables. And also, Odd Authority, hello to you too. Does it explode when it dies? If it calculates into a 3-round DPR, it certainly can. You could still work that into a 3-round DPR of just the vanilla Ankeg. Yeah, 4E, Nick, 4E absolutely has charms to it. There are aspects of 4E that were elegant and I really liked. And it's nice hearing that others do too. But yeah, this is easy peasy stuff. Do not be afraid to reskin your monsters. In fact, it not only is it a way as if you have that kind of power gamer type at your table who has memorized the stat blocks of monsters, switch it up. Turn your goblins into twig blights. Keep everything, even the vulnerability to fire. Why not? Maybe this goblin tribe favors woven grasses as a textile. So of course, if they take fire damage, they're going to take more damage because their clothing is set on fire. Right? There we go. Quick and easy way to explain it. You know that you need a CR 1/8 creature and a swarm of them, but you don't want your everyday goblin. You also don't want to sit down and recalculate challenge rating for a goblin because you're adding levels of monk or sorcerer, and we're going to do that tomorrow night, by the way, everyone. We're going to talk about changing CR by adding class levels. And you want a unique goblin. You want a goblin that has grasses and twigs strewn or woven through its hair. Okay, well that explains why it's very vegetative in appearance or style to a twig blight. That's if you want to keep it close. Explain it some other way. Maybe the goblin is actually, it still has an AC 13. It doesn't mean you can't describe it in heavy armor. But why are they taking extra fire damage? Well, goblins being what they are, they used something like a gasoline or a kerosene, some sort of like a refined oil to polish the armor, not really thinking ahead that the armor is gonna be more conducive to fire and heat. And so there you go. Why would a goblin have blind sight? It could have trained. It could actually just be something in the diet of this tribe of goblins that takes away, something they eat is It takes away their normal vision and grants them blind sight, or reinforces them in some way. Simply reskinning your monsters is an excellent way to world build, to add creativity, and to not have to go outside of any sort of a comfort zone when it comes to using the published CRs, challenge ratings, for what's already been made. Others have put in that work. Use it. Reskin things. Why can't you describe a tiefling as a vine blight? Or a bugbear chief? How can we make a bugbear chief as a slime? Well, what are the qualities of the bugbear chief? AC 17? I don't know. It could just be a tough ooze. It's just a tough ooze to penetrate, or this particular one might have actually just absorbed a lot of armor after a battle or something. And so its AC is higher because of the contents in the ooze. There's no difference between a humanoid goblinoid and ooze. Being an ooze itself doesn't necessarily confer any kind of challenge rating bump that would take it higher or lower from a CR3 to something else, because we're making it into a slime. Slimes can have the same stats. Why not? If you want to drop the intelligence, drop the intelligence. Maybe you make it hyper intelligent and you make a Tucker's Kobold version of a slime that actually has the stats of a bugbear chief. Take away its languages. Languages don't affect challenge rating, or give it several for the same reason. This ooze is a brute. Melee weapon deals 1 extra die of damage when the bugbear hits with it. Call that extra die of damage not just brute from a weapon. Say that this thing hits so hard, you get the whatever D6 from the tendril that bashes you, and another D6 brute, but it's not bludgeoning. It's acid damage. The damage type is irrelevant. You're maintaining the DPR. You're still using the same ability. Call it something else, but there you go. Heart of Hugek. The bugbear has advantage on saving throws against being charmed, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned, stunned, or put to sleep. Why can't an ooze have that? It can. Moving on. Surprise attack. If the bugbear surprises a creature and hits it with an attack during its first round of combat, the target takes an extra 2d6 of damage from the attack. Why can't a slime be an ambush predator? It can. Oh, but you just described it as being full of chainmail. Yeah, inside the ooze where it's not clinking. Oh, that's why it could silently cling to the ceiling and drop on me, giving me surprise attack. And of course the brute ability makes sense why I'm taking extra acid damage. And so your players go, that's really clever. I've never faced a slime like that before. You go, I'm glad you're enjoying the combat. Fighting unique monsters like this are, it's a treat to be able to deliver to you. Meanwhile, to get into the dungeon where this thing lives, they had to fight some bugbears, right? It's just you called the names something different. You described things differently, if only slightly. And even the person who pushes up the glasses and says, actually, may not recognize this as a bugbear chief by stat block. And you completely made a unique new character, a unique new monster. Forget that bugbears are presented this way. Look at this and say, how can I turn this into an ooze that I can throw at my players? Yeah, and the amorphous trait, if I'm recalling correctly, doesn't affect... Yeah, amorphous does not affect challenge rating. If we come over here too, to the official book, because of course, support your friendly local game store. Carry the core 3 books on you because they will serve you well. Amorphous as a black pudding, there's no effect on challenge rating. In fact, turn it on its head. turn this on its head. The next time, pardon me, everyone. The next time you throw bugbears at your group, give the bugbears, the humanoid, goblinoid bugbears, amorphous. It doesn't change the challenge rating. You don't have to worry about the math. But give your bugbear chief amorphous and watch what that does to the battlefield. Your players will probably be surprised. There's going to be a lot of questions. Is that really a bugbear? Was that magic? Is this all an illusion? What's going on here? It spices things up, and it added maybe a tactics consideration. So now we're getting into the challenge rating adjustments that intelligence, tactics, and the environment can bring. But it didn't change the challenge rating. So in this case, all you did was add amorphous to a bugbear, or we just reskinned a bugbear to look like something else. So always use your imagination. Don't be afraid to reskin your monsters. In the heat of the moment, there's a very good chance that even veteran players, Nick, you've been playing for a while. Diadems, you've been playing for a while. There's many of you out there that have been playing for a long time. If you took the stat blocks of a bullywug and applied them to a I don't know, you apply them to a flaming skull. Okay? Humanoid bullywug and undead types, that's fine, they're interchangeable. In this case, amphibious can breathe air and water. Undead don't need to worry about it. Either way, amphibious is a tactics thing. So that itself may not necessarily it's not something that explicitly affects challenge rating. So in this case, you don't lose anything by breathing or not needing to breathe at all. Speaks with frogs and toads, why not? Swamp camouflage, bullywug has advantage on dexterity stealth made to hide in swampy terrain. All right, so the skull is covered in swamp camouflage also. Standing leap, the bullywug's long jump is up to 20 feet and its high jump up to 10. Now in this case, we have the concept, we have the skin of a flaming skull with the mechanics of a bullywug. If we want it flaming, okay, maybe not all flaming skulls can fly. Maybe this one gets short little rocket bursts, needs to build up some swamp gas and can like short little burns. Or you describe it, the flames, as something different. But how it moves is the same. This flaming skull only gets some little jumps, long jumps up to 20 feet. Otherwise, its movement is 20-foot swim, 20-foot speed. If it just rolls along. Why not? This is a unique creative thing. Was this the skull of something that died in the swamp? It's trying to find its body? Maybe it's not even an enemy. It could be friendly. But it could turn into something interesting. Instead of shooting fire lasers, I don't know. Think Pokemon. It uses squirt gun or bubble beam. Sure, you can have it deal the same damage as what the bullywug's DPR is, if that's the engine to the chassis of our flaming skull. But we're reskinning the monster. Piercing water damage is the same as piercing spear, is the same as fire damage, is the same as necrotic damage. And now we have a very unique leaping swampy skull. If the DPR matches up, you're not changing the challenge rating from this skull. of a 1/4, because you don't need it to be the challenge rating of a flaming skull. You want it to appear like it for reasons for your story, for world building, or just challenging and mixing stuff up for your players, including yourself. If you've been playing and running, especially running, D&D, Pathfinder, any other role-playing game for a long time, you might often find that, you go, I really need something unique. I've done this before, or I've seen this done so many times. Well, we're just pulling stuff off the fly. We made a flaming skull looking swampy, we made a swampy skull that's using a bullywug for a stat block. Cool, right? A scullywug. I like that. I'm writing this down. A scullywug. We might have to flesh this out. It's the, I don't know, like the animated whatever skull of a bullywug that was laid to rest in the waters of the swamp and tries to protect the burial pond or something like that. See? Look at what flows in this workshop. It writes itself. We don't need to agonize over the ideas. Take two similar or two disparate things, pineapple pen them together. Your players don't need to know that you are running this on the engine of a bullywug. They're going to go, what is that? That's cool and interesting. I've never, I've fought a bullywug before, but they've never fought a scullywug. Authority. I love wordplay like that. So are there any, the fart jumps is important. Do you all have any questions on the basic concept of challenge rating? Or about the, ideas to reskin monsters, prompts for them, or even tales about monsters that you have reskinned in your games? This is an excellent time to share these stories or ask questions, because the idea is pretty straightforward. I don't think there's a lot that's here to really expound upon besides reskinning is tried and true. You have permission, even from the core rulebooks themselves. The very first example of building your own monster is taking something they've made and swapping it out for something else. You have the blessings of many years worth of players and DMs, including the publisher itself. You're not cheating. You're not denying yourself nor your players anything. You have blessings and permission to reskin every monster that you would like. All right, Torb. Instant death monsters? Got an evil clock that kills on midnight? Well, I don't think there's a usual CR for instant death. That's a very unique circumstance. Unless you're talking about just, a level disparity between, one CR X monster versus an average party of Y. And in fact, the book gave an example that a CR2 ogre can one-shot and kill a first-level wizard. So a CR2 ogre is an instant death monster at CR2. But that's in comparison to a level 1 wizard. But if you're talking about just running a monster that just automatically kills without a save, I mean, I don't know. Unless your players are somehow expecting something like that, or you're able to work that sudden event into a narrative going, look, trust me, guys. Otherwise, instant death, no save from a countdown monster. That's how you lose friends and not make them. GMV says, I reskin monsters all the time. Ice elves, frost goblins, fey creatures, a whole new race of bovine creatures. I have a pet rock that can one-shot a level 1 wizard, says GMV. An evil clock that kills at midnight would be a really neat mystery game. Yes. So in that case, there's not really a challenge rating on that because it's more of an event. You have this one-shot session or whatever it takes, or you just play a game of. Do you remember the old TV show 24, where it was a TV show that was 24 hours? Each episode was an hour, chronicling one day before a disastrous thing happened, and how people scramble and things are moving in real time. You can have a 24 session. Or, I mean, if you make it, we play 4 hours on average every session. So it's a 6 shot. And you play 4 hours. And you have only 24 hours of at-table playtime to do things. And in that case, I mean, again, there's not really a challenge rating for a clock that kills at midnight, but it's because that's just it. It kills. But yeah, so lean into ideas like that. Use something that is like a real time or that is a timed event. That's using the environment. That's using the environment to modify an encounter otherwise. Layer actions in 5th edition, any other stuff that can be taken into account. Some layer actions, like being able to sense everywhere, doesn't necessarily affect the challenge rating of a monster. It does give them more tactical advantage. And then we're getting back into the realm of Tucker's Kobolds, where the intelligence of the monster, using all the resources, the wit, the wisdom, the intelligence, everything at hand, including just a knowledge of the environment. Bullywugs? I mean, here, Tucker's Kobolds, bullywugs are lethal. Don't even change their 1/8 challenge rating. Bullywugs can be underwater, fire poison darts, then just drag people underwater to drown them. You want to talk about an instant death monster? How about a bullywug, a CR 1/8 bullywug? They can use the swamp to their advantage, to camouflage themselves, to lurk for rounds at a time underwater, unable to be seen or hit by the party, but will pop up, fire a dart, and pop back down into the water, using patience and knowledge. A tribe of bullywugs is extremely lethal in their home environment. And you don't even have to touch their challenge rating. And of course, the story of Tucker's Kobolds is one to be passed on from generation of tabletop gamer to tabletop gamer. A tavern mimic? Mimics are great ambush predators. Now, of course, they reskin themselves very actively to look like a great many things. Which, yeah, I would be careful not to overuse it. Part of the fun of mimics is that they could be anywhere, but if they're everywhere, it takes the suspense away. What's an often underused monster that would work out really well for a Tucker's Kobold type situation? The bullywugs that we talked about. It could be any monster. The moral of the story of Tucker's Kobolds is to simply play them intelligently. Have them use tactics. You don't have to give them a bunch of hit points. Just don't have them stand in an open arena like Final Destination in Smash Brothers, where it's a toe-to-toe tank and spank, where there's no strategy, there's no tactics, there's no environmental concerns, there's no consequences for fireballing everything everywhere, there's no consequences for clouds of poison, unlimited healing, and all this other stuff. Use the environment. And so the Tucker's Kobolds could be skeletons, could be bullywug, could be goblins, could just be humans. Look at CR0 peasants. 10 across the board, 1 hit point. What would a bunch of villagers be able to do? A lot. Because they can carry torches and rocks. They know the lay of the land. They know how their village is set out. Yeah, you know what? It really sucks when the invading army comes in on their horses with swords and armor. But the farmers know the root cellars. The farmers know the fields. The farmers probably have a lot of secrets that aren't overtly shared in an otherwise sleepy farming village. Rural life is not always a pushover sort of a thing. And when you get a horde of people who are using the intelligence they have, just because their score is 10 doesn't mean they still don't know the creeks and the woods of their area. They don't know the hidey holes in their house, the hidden compartments. They don't know where something is kept. And they organize together. You know why? Because the farmers most likely realize if we don't band together during an emergency, we're all going to die. And so none of them might have expert martial training, but they get together enough to do drills. What are you going to do in the wintertime when the fields are frozen over? You can exercise. You can practice with swords and spears. Maybe that's when you start boiling some leather you harvested to make some very simple armor. Or that's when you sit down and read a book. It might be difficult. Maybe not everyone in the village is literate, but it doesn't mean the person in the village who can read can't take that book and read to everyone there at a religious service, at sort of like a volunteer guard service. Don't let the score of a 10 mean that, the showcase that they can't come up with clever things or that they don't have common sense. They may not have a lot of book learning, but they can still be highly intelligent in the area in which they're at. Because if they weren't, they wouldn't still be living there and existing there. And if your players are trying to bully you into something like, oh, but they're just villagers, they can't do that, come back at them with those examples. Ask them, why wouldn't someone who has survived the rural countryside for 50 years not have a hidden location of weapons, armor of just a hidey hole, or have collected, some or would be willing to part with a couple bottles of Grandpa's old cough medicine to light on fire and hurl back at the invaders, who were unsuspecting that they're just rural villages, local yokels. They'll be a pushover. We'll set one of their houses on fire. We'll kill one or two people who resist us, and they'll fall in line. Will they? If any of you live in a rural town, would those people just be shuffled off their land without a fight or easily? As long as you're not letting the mechanics dictate your expectations, you can have your own Tucker's kobolds or your own Nyx villagers. You can have your own Authorities Scullywugs. Hi, Iron Chef.